Time to tune in, now another sports center, it's a movement.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Touchdown with Doug Smith. Now, as you guys have seen the last 2 weeks, it's been really taking over the airways. Tim Tebow, yes, I'm rocking the jersey, but stay to the end of the video because you may like what you hear, you may not like what you hear. But we're going to take and cover Tim Tebow just today getting signed by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, this is a big deal because Tim Tebow has not played in the NFL, been on an NFL team for approximately 9 years. Is it as if the NFL can't get any crazier? Tom Brady goes to Tampa. Tim Tebow comes out of retirement after almost a decade. After playing baseball, we all thought he was done, you know? I want to make a couple points here today. A lot of people, the news broke out about a week and a half ago that this could be a possibility, and people are like, nah, it ain't gonna happen, it ain't gonna happen. Well, it happened. It definitely happened. He is officially in the NFL, got a 1-year contract. I'm not sure what the dollar amount is, but he's now on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, let me first off say, I'm a Tim Tebow fanboy. I'm a huge Tim Tebow fan from college. From college. Now, somebody who loves the Lord, loves Christ as well too, man. It's cool to see someone out there. Yeah, a lot of people say, oh, I love God, but they don't really love God because you see their actions and their motives, and it's just not what it is. With Tim Tebow, man, he lives what he says. He lives what he says. The guy never got a scandal, never got in trouble. A lot of people don't like Tim Tebow for these two reasons. He wasn't that good of a quarterback. I feel like God was like bailing him out, like, hey, man, I got you this time, man, but you know. and then, of course, there's times where the media blows stuff out of proportion. And as much as people say they hate the media, face it, you watching this here, you're probably a puppet as well too. There's been times where I've been the puppet as well too. But I gotta say, they turned Tim Tebow into the enemy. You know, God, all of a sudden Billy takes and watches football, all of a sudden hates Tim Tebow because, you know, his grandmother died when she was 95, 20 years ago. There's many reasons why people don't like Tim Tebow. Many, many, many reasons. There is definitely a media circus that follows him, but it's not to his doing. Another point I want to take and bring up is that it's not Tim Tebow's fault that he wants to play football. He's doing what he's supposed to do. Now, I've heard an argument, and it's a very good argument, that he's taken up a roster spot. He's taken up a roster spot of somebody else who can take and have that opportunity. Somebody who's coming, wants to take and be back in the league. Colin Kaepernick has came up in some of these arguments. I mean, it's been a lot of great conversations from what I've seen. But honestly, y'all, let's be real. Tim Tebow makes the team. The biggest thing that he's going to take and be a contributor, the absolute biggest thing that he's going to contribute to the Jacksonville Jaguars is his heart. That dude can move a locker room. He's not trying to take over the team. He just wants to be someone who contributes. That's Trevor Lawrence's team. That's Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer's a general, and you know Trevor Lawrence. He's a full bird colonel if you look at it that way. You know he's going to be taking and running the show. And what I love about Tim Tebow, and you can't deny, is that people love being on the same team with him. The dude is going to work. He's not going to be there to milk a paycheck like other football players who absolutely suck, who you guys do not make a big deal about. You know, people like Jay Cutler who play for years and years. People from, I could go down, I could have a laundry list full of players who just, they had their 1 or 2 good years in the NFL, and then they just milk team money for the next 5-7 years, sometimes even a decade, okay? Because players think, you know, teams ultimately think that they're going to get what they once had when they were, you know, years and years ago in their youth. The point I'm trying to take and say is that I don't expect Tim Tebow to be super fantastic. He's been out of the league for so long, and to get into football shape is completely different than baseball shape. Granted, he definitely put on some pounds. I'm going to post a few pictures here in the video, but the guy got a little bit stocky, you know what I mean? So that way he can go ahead and battle in the trenches. But Tim Tebow does what Tim Tebow does, and it's not a big deal. I'm rooting for him. I want him to succeed. I want him to do well in the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know people keep showing that daggone clip when he was on the Jets and the bell took him, like, hit his helmet. They keep showing that stuff, and at the end of the day, the main argument is that he's taking up a roster spot. But look, it's not like in the NFL, it's like with wide receivers or quarterbacks where there's so many good wide receivers and there's so many good quarterbacks There's only so many good tight ends in the league. Honestly, I expect him to possibly be a good blocker and a team motivator. Let's compare it to when Ray Lewis was last year in the NFL. He was okay. He was just okay. But they kept him on the team because he is a leader amongst men. He's a spiritual leader. He's a spiritual man. The guy's a follower of Christ. Very devout, very personable with his teammates. The guy has passion, but if you take him out of that locker room, the team takes and loses their spirit. Team completely loses their spirit. Now, he's trying to create culture. Urban Meyer, that's one of the first things as a coach. You see it with Brian Flores over in Miami and a lot of other teams. Dan Campbell, this week's episode of the Detroit Lions, I talked about this. Dan Campbell trying to change the culture in Detroit. You see this over and over again, that people trying to change the culture, and you would want a guy like Tim Tebow in there. Even if he doesn't really play that much, he'll probably get a few snaps. He'll probably have a few trick plays in there. But, the guy, if he helps out with your team culture and your, the locker room chemistry, what's the problem with that? Is it that bad to take and sign the guy? I don't know what his contract is for $1 million. Is it that big of a deal? I feel, honestly, at this point in the NFL season, it's the off season, excuse me, people are just looking for something to talk about. They're looking for something to complain. They remember the days where the guy, he won a game with only having 2 completions against the Kansas City Chiefs. I remember those days, and it was fun. You're rooting for the guy, like, hey, maybe he will be really good. And he had some games where he did good. Even the game where he beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, that pass in overtime and threw for 316 yards. That would be what I consider a pretty decent game. I say decent because he still made some very bad throws. And who knows, had he stayed at quarterback, he might have developed into something pretty good, potentially. But nonetheless, the pass is the pass. I love Tim Tebow as a person. I love Tim Tebow as a football player. Is he the best football player? Absolutely not. But the guy has heart, he has spirit. And again, I'm going to say this. The number one pro of having Tim Tebow taking and playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars is going to be that he is going to be a mentor. He's going to be somebody who they take and they look up to, even though he's been out of the league for some time. And he's a leader amongst men. That's a guy who you want in your locker room culture. If you want a culture, if you want a chemistry, I don't think he's going to divide a locker room at all. I really don't. The media will try to make it seem that way. Watch something happens and, Trevor Lawrence, gives a dirty look. They're going to try to twist it and make a little article. Probably expect that. But, again, and who knows? He may still get cut. It's just a 1-year contract. So, if worst case scenario, they let him go and that's it. You know what I mean? So, anyway, I'm happy for Tim Tebow. I'm happy for Jacksonville Jaguars because they're going to get a great locker room leader. Probably not a very good player at this point. The guy's been out of the league for about almost a decade. But y'all, that's all I got here today, folks. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in. If this is your first time on my channel, make sure you guys go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I cover the entire NFL. In the meantime, drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Let's talk about it. Have a good night. Peace.
Time to tune in. Now another sports center. It's a movement.